Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Coffee with Katie. So you may notice that things look a little bit different today, and that is because I am currently in Germany. And this is my little apartment for now. The internship has been great so far. I've been very busy though, so just now sitting down to film. Thankfully I had things pre-filmed, but wanted to go over the books that I read in April with you. So doing my April reading wrap up. It's a lot smaller than it usually is for me, but that's because I've been busy and in another country and things are wild. So let's just get into it. I apologize if the lighting or the noise is a problem. I'm not in my usual location. We gotta do what we gotta do, you know? So the first book that I read in April was Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. This is the next installment. Well, it's a prequel story, but the next installment in the Hunger Games series. This was following Haymitch, which I knew when this was announced and when I picked this up that this was going to be a really sad story, because if you know Haymitch from the Hunger Games, you know he's not a happy person or necessarily a good person. So I knew that his story was going to be really, really hard. And I think a lot of people weren't expecting it, which is funny because it's the Hunger Games. It's going to end tragically and it's going to be sad. But I really liked this. I don't want to say a whole lot about it because I don't want to ruin anything and spoil anything for you guys. But I think it was fun being back in the games. I feel like for the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, you're in the games, but it's different because you're coming from the perspective of President Snow, who's like running the games, and he just has a contestant and you get to see the games, but it's just different. With this one, you're back in the arena with a contestant, and I think that's nice because it brings you back into the mindset of the Hunger Games that we all read years ago, and it was really fun. And so you're getting more of that kind of flavor. And it's tragic, it's sad, it's interesting to read about Haymitch's story because he's not this like powerhouse of a person, like a career. So I liked everything that happened in his story. It is extremely sad, extremely heartbreaking and tragic. So if you're going into it thinking there's going to be a happy ending, there's not going to be one. But it also shows you the buildup of why he was a catalyst in the original Hunger Games trilogy of the rebellion and freeing the people from the Capitol. So I liked this. Hunger Games books always suck. As in, they're always sad and heart-wrenching and unfair, and you want to like take down the system, you know? It gives you heart-wrenching action. There's people that die that you don't want to die, but that's the nature of the book. It's a sad story, but if you went into this thinking it wouldn't be, it got bad news for you. I really liked the elements though. I liked the elements of the games. I liked the ways he had to navigate everything. I liked the other characters, of course, which is sad. And I will continue to read these, as many as she puts out, I think. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I would love to see more of these. I would love to see Joanna's story and also Fennec. I think Fennec's would be really, really interesting. But that was the first book that I finished in April. And then the next one was Lights Out by Nevessa Allen. This was kind of a spur of the moment thing. I had it on hold in Libby and the hold came up, and so I was able to listen to it on the way to Germany as well and finished it here. And it was kind of fun, you know. I wasn't really sure. This wasn't really my type of a book. This isn't a type of book that I usually pick up, but I'd heard that it was really funny, and one of my coworkers had read it and said it was really funny because of the narrator, the narrator that does the perspective of the male main character Josh. The way he's portrayed is really like cute and funny, which is like, you look at the synopsis of this, you're like, what do you mean? But that was true. So in this book, there's basically this nurse that gets into like mask talk, and once this guy like is attracted to this guy that does these mask videos, and he is curious how far she'll go, and so he starts kind of like showing himself and flirting with her, but she doesn't know who he is, and he like breaks into her house, which sounds absolutely terrifying, red flags everywhere, but he's like actually a really sweet guy. So it's a really bizarre story, but it was kind of fun. I really liked the narrator for Josh. I thought he did a really good job. He was hilarious and sweet. He brought the character to life, and he made him seem more harmless, even though, you know, red flags galore. I like that despite the theme, it did seem lighthearted and funny, which I feel like is kind of hard to do. And maybe that's like a similar feel with Butcher the Blackbird. I don't know because I haven't read it yet, but it's like dark themes, but also everything's kind of silly and funny and cute. There are darker parts of this with backstories, with a horrible character that does get introduced. And this book is also pretty spicy in general, so just be aware of those things. It could have been toned down a little bit, the spice, I think. I think there's elements of it that are a little risque. But I really, really liked the first third of the book, or first half of the book. And the rest was good, but I loved the first part, so I feel like the rest of it didn't stand up as well for me, but I loved the first part. And I'm really curious to see how this is going to be series, because now there's going to do a second book called Caught Up, and it's following a different character that's like introduced in the story. But I'm curious how she's going to make this into a series. Overall, I did enjoy it, even though it felt like something that was outside my comfort zone a little bit, and I ended up giving it 4 stars and thought it was funny. The last book that I read in April, because I only read 3 because I've been busy and adjusting, was Fearless by Lauren Roberts. This is book 3 in the Powerless trilogy, and I'm gonna do a book review on this and just kind of like maybe my thoughts on the Powerless trilogy in general, but we'll get to that later. So for now, this was also a 4-star read, which is kind of funny, but this was interesting. I'm kind of mad, to be honest, about how the plot took a turn in the unfairness towards a character, but I did enjoy this book overall. You can kind of see a lot of things coming, and a lot of it coming because you know there has to be a resolution. So you're just kind of like, okay, like the author's trying to play with my emotions, but I also know that it cannot stay this way. Like it must be resolved. But there are some twists and turns along the way. There's one trope I really didn't care for, but it didn't go the way I assumed it would, so that was good. And overall, a decent ending to the trilogy, but the first one is honestly still my favorite. So I hope a lot of people are satisfied with this ending, but you may not be. I'm curious to see what else this author comes out with, and that's all I can really say for now. But when I do the review, I will be talking more spoilery about things, so just be aware of that. But I did enjoy this and think that if you liked the first 2, you should give this one a shot. I feel like if you liked the second one, you might like this one more. I'm not positive about that, but overall, I like the trilogy. If you like the trilogy, you should read it and finish and wrap it up for your own sake. But I thought this was a really interesting story. Well, those are all of the books that I ended up reading in April. I actually did finish a book recently, but it was in May, so can't count that one. I've also been reading a book for book club here with our staff here, and it's The Curate's Awakening. So that's an old-timey book, but I will be finishing that at some point. I've got a couple of books that I've started and haven't finished, so working through them slowly but surely, and we'll see if I read anything on my TBR for May. But those are the books that I read in April. I would love to know what your favorite book of April was if you want to leave it in a comment down below. But as for now, that is it for today's video. Please like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I will see you next time. Stay safe and caffeinated. Bye.